Hi, everyone. Welcome to Feminine Essence. And today I have a dear friend of mine named Tamara Johnson Brown. She lives in Bali, and you'll get to hear the birds behind her. And she's going to talk to us about accessing your intuition. So, welcome to our circle. Tamara is one of the most gifted, what is she called? Intuitive energy mentors that I've ever met. She's so psychic. She's had some incredible experiences in her life that actually blasted her wide open. So now, without any further ado, Mrs. Tamara, would you please join the screen?
Hi, Cecily. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy to always see you, my dear. So can you talk to us a little bit about, what happened to make you so as psychic as you are?
Well, I was always a sensitive kid, so I was always sensitive to energies and spirits and things around me. But I kind of pushed it away, as you do when you're a teenager and you want to, fit in with the other kids. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I was in my mid-20s, and sort of ironically, living in New York City, working in advertising, that the doorways started to sort of blow open. And I started to see into people's bodies when I was riding the subway, or just be filled with information when someone brushed me or touched me. And I would get all kinds of information about them. And it was pretty unnerving. And then about the same time, I got very, very sick. I think it was just my soul's way of getting me out of that job that I didn't know how to quit, which was in advertising at that point. And at the same time, I went through a massive Kundalini awakening, and I did not know what it was. I had no context for that. And I thought I was burning alive. I thought I was going insane. I had all sorts of spirits hovering around me, when I was in bed, and just all sorts of crazy stuff, blowing up appliances, like television, vacuum cleaner, hair dryer, things like that, because I was so ungrounded too. So it was kind of a wide blast open, kind of like blasting me apart, really, and then having to put myself back together again and to understand what it all was and what it meant. Yeah.
So why do you think it happened like that? Like, who are you as a soul that it had to happen like that? You know what I mean? Like, did you come with this huge mission, or
well, I think I think I'm very stubborn, and I was always a bit of a party girl, so that was my focus. And I think that I was getting those messages, but I wasn't listening to them. Okay. And I can remember talking to friends going, I just know there's something else. I just know there's something else I need to be doing. But, then I kept working hard and partying hard, and there was no space for any information to come through.
Yeah.
So it took a real dramatic kick in the butt, really.
Okay. Wow.
Sorry?
Oh, I just said that was dramatic. I mean, you've told me a little bit before, but I didn't know as much as you just shared with me just now.
Yeah, it was a very full-on time, and it was scary because I had these sort of beings, these entities, or whatever you want to call them, that were hanging around me. And my boyfriend at the time was saying, "You're crazy. You need help. You need psychiatric help." And he actually considered putting me in a psychiatric hospital. He was really considering that, and it was very scary. And then one night he woke up and he saw one of them, and it scared the crap out of him. And after that, he believed me.
What did it look like? What did it look like?
It was just very, very tall and very dense black. It would stand over me while I slept, or stand at the end of my bed. And sometimes it would actually lie on top of me. I would wake up and it would be whispering really nasty things in my ear. And it was a really scary time because I didn't have the tools to really know what it was or why I was attracting it.
Yeah.
And, now as I look back at it, I look at it as really a projection of myself that was trying to get me out of that situation. Mm-hmm. So it certainly did. You can only have someone call you crazy
for yourself. Get out of New York.
Exactly. Yeah. And not long after that, I also had a near-death experience when I had emergency surgery for an appendectomy, and that's what really changed everything. Yeah. Not to belittle it, because it was very classic. As far as descriptions of it, it was a very classic experience, but the effect is just incredibly profound. And I feel like I've spent the rest of my life since that time to regain that feeling of unconditional love, that complete acceptance, that beauty of oneness and everything. So it directed my life in a way then that became my main focus. How do I recreate that sort of feeling of heaven, but in my physical body on earth?
Mhm.
That's what has driven me from that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You totally live love. I've known you for a while, and I love that
Mm-hmm.
about you. You have
I
like you
thought,
have a beautiful angelic glow about you. That's
oh, thank you.
you do. You. Well, that's pretty wild, your story. So how did that lead you into the work that you do now? Like how did your
um,
work start to grow from that?
yeah, I from there I ended up doing a 3-month camping trip around the American Southwest because I was very fascinated with cliff dwellings and pictographs and not cave paintings, but rock paintings, etc. So I did this camping trip to just about every single rock site and every cliff dwelling that we could find in New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, and Utah. And it was profound. I had all sorts of ancient remembrances, just really feeling things in my bones that I hadn't known were there before. And after that 4 months, I tried to go back to New York, and I just couldn't stand it. I missed the sky. I'd gotten used to sleeping under the stars and being more connected to the earth. And I went back to the city, and I was like, no, 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 this is all wrong. This is totally wrong. So I ended up moving out west to New Mexico, and that's when things really started to open up for me.
Wow.
And looking for mentors and people to help teach me.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, I've never had teachers for long. I seem to always um, have most of my teachers in spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm almost jealous of those people who've had a teacher for 20 years that they follow and that they have regular check-ins with, but for some reason I've never been able to create that in my life. I've always had my nightly spirit teachers and um, my dreamtime teachers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's cool. I mean, anyway, tell me about well, I've had some healing sessions with you, but I mean, what kind of things do you do with the kind of gifts that you have? Like, how does that work with your intuition? And
um,
like, how do you help people with it? What can you do for people? Because I know you've done shamanic work and you do
mhm.
clearing and you've done some incredible things. Um,
What my work has become now is much more focused on aspects of soul. Whereas I used to be basically a medical intuitive and then also work energetically. I don't I don't quite get the information like that anymore. And actually, it's kind of a gift to me because I would often just be walking down the street and say, "Oh, that person has heart disease," or "Oh, that person has cardiac problems," or whatever.
yeah.
So it was always something that was coming through physically.
Mhm.
Whereas now I don't usually see that. I'm much more focused on seeing aspects of a person's really soul parts that aren't fully integrated and expressed.
Mhm.
So it's very much like soul part retrieval in the traditional shamanic context.
Mhm.
And although I have been trained in that in various modalities, I don't practice it that way. I
Mhm.
do a method that I've sort of always done, which is connecting with the heart of my client and then allowing the field of unconditional love to hold all of it. And from there, I'm shown the soul pieces that aren't fully aspected. And, often it'll be something from your childhood, age 3, abandonment by your father, or whatever.
Mhm.
And I'll get the message about what was happening and then just hold that part like you would a small child. And it eventually, till it recognizes its own wholeness. And
Oh.
then it naturally integrates back in. So whereas traditionally I was trained to, go to the other world, grab that soul part, come and blow it back into the person, which is a fine modality. I'm not
Mhm.
dismissing that at all.
Mhm.
Whereas now I sit and I hold the field until the part naturally shows up and then it integrates basically on its own while I hold the field. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, that's such, um,
Yeah.
it feels so gentle and so deeply healing, you know.
Yeah, well, what I've realized over the years is the less and less that I do, the more that happens. And the less agenda that I have, the more that happens. And the more I love, the more that happens. So if I can just get myself out of the way and allow my heart to connect fully with that person's heart, that's where all the magic is. Yeah.
Wow, I love that. Is there so what I really wanted today from, of course I want to introduce you to the world because I think you're amazing, but I also think that I wanted you to teach us how to access our intuition, because at the time of this recording, we're in the age of the coronavirus, and there's just so much out there, and it would just, I have a feeling that things are just going to keep accelerating and accelerating. So the more we can access our own intuition, the better off we are. And I was hoping you could maybe teach us how to do that ourselves as well.
Yeah, I would love to do that. It's become really a passion project of mine for about the last 8 to 10 years, where I was starting to feel really strongly that everyone needs to be able to tap into their inner guidance. That there's so much directed at us that really seems meant to pull us away from our inner landscape, away from our own heart knowing, our own soul whisperings, that it's more important now than ever, I think, to be able to tune into that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at this point, we are bombarded with so much information,
Yeah.
and so much of it seems to be mixed misinformation and accurate information, so that you can't tell. You can't tell who to trust, what to trust, what's real, what's not. And I think it's more important now than ever to bring it back into the heart. And how does it rest with you? And how does it feel to you? How does it resonate with your cells? How does it feel in your reality?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I would like people to feel, to experience, and to understand, because we're going to need that now more than ever.
So you're saying that the kind of intuition you have and the kind of, the psychic abilities, it could come from having that deep heart connection. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Ooh.
It's really coming into presence and a greater embodiment of yourself that allows it. A lot of people are so distracted by everything that they don't allow a moment of stillness to hear anything. If you always have your television on, if you always have even podcasts on all the time, you know what I mean? There's a lot of great stuff out there, but you know what I mean? If it's always on and you don't allow yourself a moment of stillness or silence, it's really hard for your intuition to get through to you. That's why I recommend a meditation practice or a meditative activity to everybody who wants to try to tap in, because you have to be able to stop the mind, or still the mind a bit. I can't say stop altogether, because that's not an easy task.
No.
But to allow a little space between the thoughts, to allow the intuition to bubble up and to communicate with you, because it will when you allow it. But you have to slow down. And this is why this is a perfect time for this, to slow down and start listening. What is your heart whispering to you? What is your intuition saying? What is your soul trying to communicate with you that you just have not listened to? And you could be amazed sometimes, what comes through for that.
So before we go in, I have a question. Like, when you go in, do you go in with the question, or do you just go in and listen? You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of people like to start out going in with a question, because it's more of a confirmation for them. At this point in my life, I mostly listen. I try not to, I try to not be the driver, so to speak. I want the real intel of what's coming without my agenda, as much as possible.
Yeah.
But it's exciting for people when they can start getting answers to their own questions. I teach a workshop just in the basics of your intuition. I haven't taught it for a while. I used to teach it with a friend, and it's exciting for everyone to realize that they can all do it, even the ones who thought, oh no, I can't do this.
Yeah.
When they actually start to get those confirmations, it opens up a whole new world for them, and it's really exciting to watch. Yeah. So yeah, you can start with a question.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few different methods that I teach, specifically like for a choice between two different options.
Mhm.
That's a very easy one to do. We could do that today also.
Okay.
Um, and a lot of it is bringing your awareness into the body. You know, how much can you bring your awareness fully in and feel the things that come through, feel the information and feel how it lands. How does it move in your body? How does it sit in your heart? How does it feel in your bones? Because when something's really true, you know it on such a deep level. I mean, you know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
like you feel it land, like it's like I know that in my bones. Or there's various things that will happen, like maybe you'll get chills when you know something's true.
Mhm.
Or for me, and this is kind of embarrassing sometimes, I will sometimes just burst into tears. Someone will say something to me and I'll just go blah. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, but I just know that that's true. That's how I know that's true. It's like the emotion overwhelms me, and it's kind of funny, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And another way, I joke that I have spiritual Tourette's because I will often just blurt something out of nowhere, like just totally nowhere. Like, for example, my husband and I were looking for a place to elope to get married. And I
Yeah.
said, well, we'll go to Bali, of course. And he said, what? And I said, what? And then we did.
Now you live there.
Yeah, exactly. But it's things like that that happen to me all the time where I just blurt it out as if it's my own truth. And I'm like, where did that come from? But it is that allowingness. I've learned to follow it when it comes as well.
And trust
Because
it.
it doesn't lie.
Oh, okay.
And the thing about intuition, people get worried about, am I getting correct information? And I would argue that the raw information itself is always correct. The problem can be in how we interpret it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's a tricky one in that way, but the intuition, trust what's coming. And I can tell you a funny story about that.
Yes.
Um, I work with a crystal light bed from Brazil sometimes, and it's a device that has crystals that hang over the body. And you've done it, yeah? It's
Incredible.
cosmic. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I first got this device, I wasn't giving readings at that point, although I would often get intuitive information when I was working with people. And so this woman had come in, and it was one of those where I'm like watching a movie, seeing her, all these past lives, how they relate to this life, what she can do to claim those gifts, and just, like so easy watching a movie on a screen, right? It's not always like that.
No.
So, so I tell her all that, and she's crying, and that's the most amazing thing I've ever heard, and it all makes so much sense. And this is so healing, and oh, thank you, I'm so grateful, right? Like, oh, phew, that's great. She sends in her friend. Her friend says, I want a session exactly like my friend's. I want inspiration. I want, healing. I want all this information. I want to know about my past lives. I'm like, okay. Like, no pressure here. Because I just started doing this, right?
Yeah.
I'm sitting in meditation. I'm like, please give me a vision, for this woman's best and highest good. Please, begging, please, nothing's coming. Still, no, please, nothing's coming. So finally, I'm sitting there, and this rubber duck walks by in my vision, right? I'm like, no. Please send me a vision. Give me anything this woman needs to know at this time for her best and highest good. Nothing. Two rubber ducks walk by. I'm like, no. Please give me, I'm just begging. I'm like freaking
Yeah.
out. Like, oh my God. And then I'm getting mad at the woman next door to me because a good friend of mine who's a psychic healer is working in the next room. And I think she's toying with me because she's got a goofy sense of humor, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
stop it. Stop sending that. Okay, please. Anything. Rubber ducks, masses of rubber ducks, rubber ducks marching, rubber ducks swimming, like, rubber ducks, right? Time's up. I'm like, oh God, no. I'm like, just like, oh God, how am I going to tell her this? So I turn off the device and I take off the eye mask, and she's like, that was so amazing. I can't wait to hear the information you got from me. And I was like, um, okay, well, just can you answer this for me? Does a rubber duck mean anything at all to you? And I'm just like curled into a ball. I'm so afraid to say this, right? And she said, oh my God. And she started to cry. And
Oh.
she said, I had just been thinking that the happiest time in my life was when I drove a truck. And my radio handle, my CV name was Rubber Duck. She said, and I just was thinking I need to do that. And I will be happy again if I quit my job and go back to driving a truck. And I went, oh my God, thank you.
Oh my God, that is so good.
But I tell that to students of
Trust.
intuition, because you just got to trust it. Sometimes it's so bizarre,
Yeah.
but you just have to trust it, you know?
Yeah.
And had I not gone with it, even though as ashamed as I was almost of that,
Yeah.
she wouldn't have had that confirmation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw, I love that story. That's cute too. I love it.
Yeah, it's funny. I used to keep a rubber duck on my shelf when I work to remind myself of that. Because, you know, sometimes you get really bizarre information and you just have to trust it. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons to to tell people is just trust what comes. You know, when you're really in that space and the information's coming through, just trust it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I love those stories.
Yeah.
Do you want to bring us through a process to connect to our intuition?
Yeah. So when I was teaching intuition in the past, I was always I called it Intuition from the Heart, which was supposed to be my book title, which hasn't happened yet. But so I would bring people into their hearts to access what I would call asking heart questions. But what I realized, what has become a very natural way of being for me to dwell in the heart, largely because of various experiences I've had, like a head injury and all of that, which forced me to really to be more in my heart than in my mind. But that's not always so easy for people to access. So it was only a few years ago that I started seeing the Heart Math Institute research. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing stuff, working with heart coherence and actually measuring it with biofeedback devices. And so I started to do this process, which they do to bring you into heart coherence. And it's quite profound how quickly it brings you into that open-hearted heart space, which has an energetic harmony with your mind and body, but then also opens up your intuition.
No.
So it's yeah, it's good. So let's try it.
All yours. Let's try.
Okay,
And then do you think I could talk to my horse that way?
sure. Yeah, I think that's a good way.
You okay.
And also, I did take a very brief, like a 2-hour workshop in animal communication, and they said always communicate in symbols with animals.
Okay.
So if you stand in front of them and like send a heart or
Yeah.
pictures, not just symbols but pictures also. That's how they communicate. So it's very interesting because it does work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you can do that with humans too. I used to do that with my husband.
You did. Like
in the days before we both had cell phones, like he'd be on his way home from work and I'd be like, stop at the store and pick up some wine or whatever,
yeah.
And go, oh, I stopped at the store and picked up a bottle of wine on the way home. I don't know what came over me. And I'd be like, thanks for listening. So it's fun to play around with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that. Oh, that's fun. We have new tools.
exactly.
Or we will. Okay.
So to do the heart process, I want to start by closing your eyes and bringing your awareness inward. And start to slow your breathing down. And it can be helpful to put your hand or a finger onto the middle of your heart space. It just helps to bring your awareness to that part of the body. And then start to inhale to a count of 5 or 6. And exhale to a count of 5 or 6. Just slowing down the breath. And feel the nervous system relax as you slow the breath. It's a way of telling the body that you are safe here. And then start to feel as if you're breathing slowly in and out of your heart. And it can be helpful to visualize like an actual nose in the center of your heart space, inhaling and exhaling. And I like that because it's kind of funny too. But really feel the breath coming in slowly into the heart space. And exhaling. And if you feel, you can start including a pause at the end of every inhale and the end of every exhale. Feeling that point of that stillness between the inhalation and the exhalation. And then I'd like you to continue breathing slowly and just imagine someone or something that you are so grateful for in your life. Could be a person, could be an event. Just really try to imagine that person and feel that sense of gratitude in your heart. Really feel it as much as you can. And if you're really stretching and can't think of something, maybe you have a pet that you just love unconditionally and you're just so grateful to have this being in your life. So feeling how your heart opens up and how your heart feels lighter when you feel this gratitude for this being or this event in your life. And from there, I'd like to sort of go in a series of everyone that I'm grateful for and everything that I'm grateful for. And it only takes a few minutes for the heart and the brain to come into harmony once you're focusing in this heart space and in this state of gratitude. And when you're in this space, you're much more in tune with your innate wisdom, with your body wisdom, with your heart wisdom. And just more able to sort of handle daily life, like feeling much more resilient, much more even, emotionally centered, and really starting to view the world from the lens of the heart. So from this space, you can actually access the wisdom of your heart. and ask questions about really anything you want to know in your life. So just continuing to breathe slowly with your awareness in your heart. You can say heart or my heart. What do I need to know about whatever it is you want to ask? What do I need to know about this upcoming meeting I have with my boss? Or what do I need to know about what my soul's path is? Or what do I need to know about what is the best thing for me to eat in my diet? You can ask any kind of question you want. And the answer is quite immediate. And don't force it. When you're first starting to do this, it's a different way of learning to perceive. So start to imagine that your heart is speaking to you. If you're having trouble accessing any kind of feeling or words or anything, you can start to imagine, as really the heart space is the symbolic imaginal realm, and it's learning to access intuition through this imagination. It's a means to perception, this imagination. And so you might see colors, or you might see pictures, you might hear words. Just see what comes up when you ask a question. And it's often easier to start with a question where you don't have any attachment to it. Like, for example, my heart, what should I have for lunch today? Something that really doesn't have a big attachment for you. So when you feel that you have an answer, I like to thank my heart, because it's all part of getting more connected with my heart in every moment. Because I think I didn't acknowledge it for so many years, that my heart's grateful for every little bit that I interact with it now. And then I'd like to take it another step into the meditation to access a deeper place in your heart. Right, it's starting to rain, so I'm going to move a little closer.
Okay.
So take your focus to that point, which is at the base of your skull. There's actually a chakra there. The name in Latin means the voice of God. And it's very often where people will channel things through. I've been told that breatharians can channel prana through there to sustain themselves without food or water. It's a powerful spot. It's at the top of the spine, at the base of the skull. You'll feel that sort of indentation there. So I want you to imagine yourself sitting in that spot and meditating. And what will happen eventually, and sometimes it's quite quick, is that it's almost like a trap door opens and you move naturally down into your heart. For me, it's like an elevator goes down the back of my spine and lets me off inside my heart. But the interesting thing about this meditation is I find myself in a much deeper place of my heart, almost in the back of my heart. And when I do this, I feel like I'm inside a cave inside of my heart. It's like this cozy, beautiful place. And when I first started doing this, there were actually cobwebs. Like I had not been in this place for a long time. So it took some warming up and some connection to turn it into the cozy cave that it's become.
I'm seeing some.
And when you feel yourself in that cave inside the heart, you can ask if there are any ancestors, any guides, any higher aspects of yourself that want to communicate with you. And when I do this, I very often will have a whole circle of beings around me. And I consider them the Heart Council. And it's a very sacred, beautiful place to be in this heart resonance and in conference with your own Heart Council. And if there's anything you would like to ask them, ask them now. Maybe they have a message for you. Maybe they have a healing for you. You could ask them, what do I most need to know at this time? Whatever you want to ask them. And after you feel your answer, you maybe hear your answer, or maybe you're shown a picture. And the answer can come in so many different ways. It can be a feeling, it could be a song, it could be a picture, it could be a memory. Just knowing that whatever comes up, it has significance to your question. And when you feel finished, just thanking them for being there, to counsel you. To hold this space for you deep within your own heart. And just knowing that they are always there for you. It's your own inner wisdom council. So taking another slow inhalation into the heart, and then releasing through the mouth. And just really feeling gratitude for this moment, for the heart council, for your heart itself, for all that it's brought you, all that you've experienced, and all the love that you can express. And when you're ready, opening your eyes.
That was beautiful.
Sorry, the rain got really loud here. I hope that was okay.
I was in my heart. I don't,
Good.
I didn't hear it, but it was so beautiful. It was so,
Mm. It's a lovely way to start accessing intuition. Um, yeah, it changed everything when I was able to immediately direct people into that space with that technique. So I'm very grateful to the Heart Math Institute and people like Greg Braden who are continuing that work. Yeah.
oh, and I just love the council, you know, that was like their faces were, I could sort of make out who they were, but I think as I do that more, I will become more clear about what they really look like. And
Yeah.
I, what I also liked I had a cave also, and there was like candles and some really old books. So
Mhm.
that's probably like what ancient wisdom or something, which I love
Uh,
ancient
I
wisdom.
love that. And I feel like that's where we can access the ancient wisdom through the portal of the heart. It's really remarkable.
Oh,
And I have this funny story.
please.
So when I first started teaching this to people, I was teaching a client, and she's a regular client of mine by Skype. And so I took her down into her heart, and then when she talked to me about it later, she said, "Oh, it was amazing. I had this council of elders all around me, and they were giving me gifts and telling me things." And of course, I know better than to compare any experience, right?
Mhm.
But the next time I'm like, well, I never had that happen. Like, like my cave kind of had cobwebs. I had to dust it off, and I lit one candle, and it was kind of cold, and hadn't been there in a while or anything, right?
Yeah.
And so the next time I did the meditation, I was like, okay, so I'm just curious why friend had this experience of all these beings around her supporting her, and I'm sitting here alone with one candle. And a voice says to me, because you don't ask for help. I said, right, okay, you're right, I don't. I said, okay, I'm asking for help now. And immediately the whole room fills up, right? I was like, they said, we've always been here. You're too stubborn to ask for help. And I'm like, you're right. I really am. I always think I have to do everything myself. And I get that lesson over and over again that you can't get the guidance if you don't ask for help. Yeah,
Oh, that's a good, important tip as well. We have to ask for help.
exactly.
And it's true.
Yeah.
Like that too. What, is it hard to ask for help? It's not. It's easy.
It's not. I know, but it's just so funny because I just never do.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a learning for sure. The universe will always support us, but it's really helpful to ask for the help.
Thank you. Oh, I love
Yeah,
that. That was so
it
beautiful.
it's quite profound. It's so simple and so profound. And now I start all my meditations with that. And I've had the most amazing meditations these last months. Just yeah.
Since the
Mm.
coronavirus, right? You said you've been having some incredible,
Starting before, yeah, in a couple of the months before.
yeah, feeling a lot coming through right now. Like
There's
there is a lot coming.
such energy for transformation.
Yeah.
If we can just tune the frequency out of the fear and tune into that frequency, it's really amazing and beautiful.
Do you
And
think
I'm actually excited by it. Yeah.
you go ahead? I'm sorry.
No, I'm very excited by the energy coming through. And I'm not discounting that there's a lot of things going on in the earth, and there's things to be maybe a bit concerned about, but just always bringing it back into the heart
Mhm.
and allowing the heart to just really love it all. Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
I was about to go into a conspiracy theory, so that's not from love. That's not love.
Well, the thing about, there might be truth in all of it and there might not be. I mean, I feel like we're just bombarded with so many different aspects of truth and maybe not truth that we really have to discover what is our truth. And the best way of doing that is to stay in the heart and listen to the heart counsel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible to do like healing of your body from there, from that place?
Yeah. I will do that sometimes.
Oh, you do? Okay.
And sometimes I even see it as a body part, like separate, come in and sit. sit in the heart council with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's very healing. And sometimes I'll bring other people in with me, into my heart space. I mean, bring their,
Oh, for healing, like in a relationship or something, or
yeah, I'll ask. And I always ask first, of course. Um, and just have them in there with you. And it's transformative. It, it really is. Yeah.
I see the
And,
rain. I see the rain
and
behind you. That volley rain. Hmm? It's so beautiful. There's like all this pouring rain behind you. I didn't see it before. It's lovely.
yeah, it's really nice.
Is it the
I
rainy
love.
season now?
Well, it's supposed to be the dry season, but it's flipped. So it's been raining every day. Yeah, I don't understand. But
Which is good, right? Because you need rain in Bali right now, right? Yeah. Oh.
yeah. Mm.
Thank you so much, Tamara. I want
Yeah. Is
what?
there anything else? I'm trying to think.
Well, I'm kind of blissed out from the that those meditations, so I feel like
Um, yeah.
hmm? I
One
just
thing I wanted to say is um,
yeah.
intuition often like a treasure hunt. Like
Oh what?
when we get the full answer, it's often like a treasure hunt. Like you'll get this piece and then that piece and then that piece.
Mm-hmm.
And don't, I don't know why it's that way. It just is. So very often you'll have one piece revealed before, and you'll have to follow that before the next piece will be revealed. And that's important to remember because sometimes you'll think you're not being guided, but you're totally being guided. It's just tiny step by step. Yeah.
Okay, so what you're saying is if you ask a question and you get some information, you follow it, and then it may or may not make sense to your conscious mind at the time, but as you follow it, you'll see later, looking back, the pattern that it all made perfect sense and that you were receiving the guidance and the help.
Yeah.
I
Like
just wanted to clarify that because the it was a little bit fuzzy. The sound was a little fuzzy right there.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I can share a story about that. There was one year that my older sister was getting married in Alaska, and we were going up for the wedding. And everyone had said you need to book all your hotels in advance because they all book up in the summer in Alaska, and you don't want to be stuck without a hotel.
Yeah.
So we were booking hotels, and there was 2 days in the middle where I could not make myself book a hotel. And my husband was like, "We have to book those nights." I said, "We can't." And he said, "Why not?" I said, "I don't know. We just can't." And, it's just so strong that we can't book these hotels. So we go ahead, we go up, we do the wedding. It's all gorgeous. Um, and when I first landed in Alaska, of course, it's the midnight sun, and I was not able to sleep at night. And I
Yeah.
kept hearing voice, "Go to Ruth, go to Ruth, go to Ruth." So I'm like, okay. So I'm looking around for anybody named Ruth everywhere I go. I'm looking for towns or anything called Ruth, right? Not finding it. And it wasn't until we were up north, we were on our way to, she got married in Denali National Park. And we stopped at an overlook to look at the mountain, and there was Ruth Glacier.
Oh.
And I went, oh my God, I have to go to that glacier.
Yeah.
And I'm looking across the wilderness, like I have to go to that glacier. Like, how the hell am I getting there? And then we left, and I said, we need to go to this town for lunch. Adolf's like, what? I'm like, we just need to go to this town. And we drive in and go over there. And I point to this place. And he's like, are you sure? I'm like, yep, we're going there. It's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And so we go into this cafe, and I start reading the notices on the wall, and it says, take a plane ride to Ruth Glacier. I went, yes, that's what we're doing. So it was expensive, but I was like, no, I have to do this. So that afternoon, we took like a seaplane that actually lands on the glacier with pontoon sort of like
Wow.
landing.
That's amazing.
And you fly right up to the mountain, and you land on this amazing glacier. And this was cosmic. I had these amazing, I hate to use words downloads, but it's really what they were, this crystalline energy that came through. It was beautiful. And a voice said, you need to go north. And I'm like, can you be a bit more specific than that? Because that's, kind of vague. And just kept saying you need to go north. So I'm like, okay, I'll go north. So after the wedding and all that, we leave the park, and my husband says, so this is our 2 days that we didn't plan. What do you want to do now? And I said, I want to go north. And he's like, can you be a bit more specific? I said, no, actually, I can't. We start driving north, and we drive for maybe an hour, and then I see this town, and I'm like, just in my heart, I felt it. We need to go to that town. So we pull into the town, have no absolutely nothing about it, and I see a tourist office. I said, well, let's go there and see what there is in this town, and maybe we'll figure out what it is we need to do here.
Yeah.
So we start talking to this old man, really lovely, who lived there his whole life, and you can tell he really loves the place. And so he says, well, there's not much of tourism here, but there's this old abandoned mine there, whatever. And he said, and then there's the old Methodist church. And as soon as he said it, my body like went electric. I said, that's where we're going. And my husband was like, we don't like churches. Let's not go to a church. I'm like, no, that's where we want to go. So we drive to this church, and we pull up, and there's all these cars up there. And as soon as we pull up, there's the spirit of a young boy or a teenage boy who's very present with me. And my husband says, let's not go. There's clearly an event happening. Let's just go somewhere else. And I said, no, it's okay, because he wants us here. And he's like, who wants us here? And I said, the boy whose funeral it is. And my husband's like, oh God, here we go. So we get into the car and we walk in, and it's a native funeral, and they're singing in, I don't know, is it Cyrillic? It's an old language, which I don't know if it's Athabascan or if it's like Russian Orthodox or if it's a mix, but it's really eerie. But there's a coffin up in the front of the room, and they're singing for this person. And so I stand there for a while, and all of a sudden this boy spirit attaches to me, and I tell Adolf, okay, we can leave now. He's coming with me. And so my husband's like, okay, whatever. Like, he's happy to get out of there. But I said, I just go someplace quiet, because he wanted help he was stuck, and he wanted help to move on. And so we pulled over somewhere, and I worked with him, and then he transcended. And the whole thing was so mind-boggling to me about how the universe works and how our intuition works in every step of the way, and how, had I been told in Tucson a month before, you can't schedule those 2 nights because you're going to go to this funeral and you're going to help the spirit cross, I would have been like, no way, that's crazy,
Right. Right.
But instead I was led on this really interesting, really like a treasure hunt or a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
And then it ended up in such a beautiful outcome.
Yeah. And you had incredible experiences. You were on a glacier. You saw these people that you would have never seen. So
Exactly.
did you ever find a place to stay?
We did. Yeah. A really cool lodge. Yeah.
Really?
So that was great. Yeah.
That's a great story. I never knew you went up there. That's super cool.
Yeah. So just tapping into the mystery, because it's way more amazing and I think organized than we even can conceive of,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I look at that, and that was played out months before.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we have to listen. And
Yeah.
not that I don't argue sometimes, because I do.
Yeah.
But when it's true intuition and it's true heart guidance, you feel it really viscerally in your body, in your heart. Whereas if it's your mind, you'll usually feel it, playing over and over in the mind. But when it's strong guidance, you'll feel it in your body, like, yeah, really in the body. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Lovely. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. My pleasure. Mm-hmm.
Well, I am kind of blissed out. I mean, I don't have a lot of words anymore, but I mean, I'm glad you did, because that was a great story. I just was thinking that, that would be a good place to end, right? But I just want to say thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for all the people that listened and watched. And I'm going to put links to how you can reach Tamara underneath in the box underneath. And Thank you so much for joining our circle and being part of this sacred circle of love on the planet right now. Thank you
Beautiful.
to all.
Thank you. Big love from Bali.
Thank you. Love you all.